Hello fellow modelers, how many Spitfires have you on your shelters? I have 4, included an Airfix 172 scale. So, why not build another one? This time it will be the F Mark 9 1/48 scale from Eduard Weekend, which is a simplified version of this kit. Once again, I did not resist the temptation to buy aftermarket parts, like a corrected cowling, wheels, 3D dashboard and seat belts. As usual with Eduard, the notice is very clear and complete. I do not know yet which one I am going to build. It always begins by the part I dislike the most. Cut and prepare the pieces. Impossible neither to avoid nor to overlook. Classically, I begin by the cockpit. Nothing difficult, I just follow the notice. The reason why I use very little Humbrol is that pouring this paint in my airbrush leaves a lot of waste around the top of the pot. Otherwise, it is easy to mix and to paint with it. Valero and Model Color paints are distributed in France as Prince Auguste. You can find both of them. Everything went well until I broke the seat. I had to rebuild it with evergreen strips before painting it. I hate when something goes wrong. Well, I went through. End of the mistake, let's get back on the track. I don't know about you, but it happens very often to me that CA glue glues everywhere except at the right place. Well, this time no worries. It would have been possible to add a resin cockpit. In my opinion, Eduard plastic ones are amazing, no need for aftermarket. I just added and painted a few cables in soldering wire. As usual, it will remain almost invisible. CA glue and seat belts are not friends at all. LOL. The design of the tail wheel housing is smart, easy, safe and solid. Thanks Eduard. I give you one of my tips. If you look carefully, this piece is not perfectly positioned. Sometimes it is very difficult to film and to glue perfectly. I fix it just after. I should have masked this part in preparation of gluing the cockpit. For large surfaces, I use Humbrol Leaky Poly. I finish details with Tamiya extra thin cement. Some putty is needed, sanded with nail polishes. The wheelbase structure is impressive, 13 pieces altogether. And everything fits perfectly. It is just a piece of cake. Here I only showed you the gluing of the first and the last part of the left well. I certainly made a mistake somewhere, because the wing did not fit easily to the fuselage. It needed a lot of putty, sanding, rescribing and riveting. Nothing difficult, that's modeler's life. Another example. Eduard plastic cowling is not easy to set, so that's why I bought a 3D one. When I made a dry fit alone, fitting was perfect. With the exhaust, a gap appeared. I thinned it from inside, glued it in force, and the problem was solved. Hopefully, the next steps had been much easier. As usual, Brassine products are perfect. Now it's time to begin the camo. I bought this Valero World War II RAF paint set. I finally chose the EN500, which was based in Malta in July 1943. Bad luck, this particular blue was not included in the set I bought, so I used the Tamiya color mixed with 10% of neutral grey. I whip my airbrush to get a perfect delimitation at the leading edge. Before the decals, instead of a gloss varnish layer, I use micro mesh to smooth the surface. For the first time, I use the new decals given by Eduard. Once dry, it is possible to remove the clear support. Honestly, the result is not convincing. They are fragile. I had to change some by those of my spare box. I made the first weathering with faded original colors. It may seem too clear, but with the varnish and washes, everything will fall into place. Before further weathering, I apply several light coats of gloss varnish. Paint the leading edges strips before or after the camo. Big question. I prefer after. It is easier to put the tapes, flat yellow and red over a white layer, and that's it. The washes for the upper fuselage are made of white and a little bit of ochre oil paint. For the intrado, they are made of sepia and a little bit of white oil paint. Finally wipe off with a tissue and white spirit. I painted the exhaust with various brown acrylic colors. I added an orange wash in the fresh. I finished with a very light metal dry brush. I flattened the wheel with a file, then sanded them with a 300 grit paper. Finally, I repainted them. A knowledgeable modeler is worse too. I never use fragile plastic antennas. This time I shaped a steel rod. An example of mishaps. After 6 failure attempts, I positioned it off camera. Why don't you put yourself in place? This is the way I protect fragile parts during my travels to exhibitions. I am careful. I replace the pitot tube by a PE chute and electric wire. I applied mud on the wheels with Petrol F and pastel powder. I reduce the sticks in powder with a hobby knife. It is much cheaper and it allows me to make my own mix. 10 minutes later, just brush the excess. Paint the propeller is long but nothing difficult. First I apply a dark grey layer for the blade. Then I mask the tips. White first, followed by yellow. For the spinner, white first, then red. For gasoline, exhaust and gun stains, I use various oil paints and watercolor pencils. I had not been happy with some rendering. I repainted them off camera. When I arrive at the matte varnish, it is almost finished. As we say in French, the horse smells the stable. I painted the belly light with Molotov liquid chrome. The glass is simulated with epoxy glue. At this time, I am still afraid that paint has slipped under the tape. Hopefully, this time it is not the case. This is the last stage of the building of this aircraft. I am going to add a resin figure from Plus Model from Czech Republic. I begin by a dark grey layer, followed by a zenithal white one. It is almost as long to paint a small figurine as to build a whole plane. The process of painting to give life to a figurine consists in the application of multiple washes, filters, all more details than each other. It requires a good eye that I no longer have, so I don't have the possibility to do these steps and film. Here is the result almost finished. I painted the eyes with an ink pen and the lips with a watercolor pencil. After 2 days of weathering, shading, etc., the figure is finished. On a plywood base, I applied PVA glue, pigments and electrostatic grass. I painted the side of the base with black acrylic color. On such a short video, it is impossible to show everything. I made a lot of mistakes that normally I should not do anymore, but I managed to fix everything. Four of my old kits.